Welcome to Mack-n-Cheeze Music Podcast with your hosts, Brian DeHart.
Thank you, Bruno. It just goes to prove you're nowhere without your listeners. Folks from 8 different countries are tuning in to Mack-n-Cheeze Music Podcasts, and boy, do we appreciate it. We fully believe that one of the contributing factors is the quality of our guests. Take, for instance, today's podcast guest, Steve Smith, owner of the Seattle Drum School, percussionist extraordinaire, music professional and instructor, audio engineer and producer, author, super cool human being, and for giggles, he dabbles in physics. I've given him the handle Frankensmith.
That's Frankenstein.
As well as being a successful artist, Steve is a longtime Seattle business person. Steve is going to talk about integrating business and art, engineering and producing, and also his upcoming book, which is a compilation of several years of his instructional theory.
Practice, practice, practice.
We did this one over Skype, implementing a little bit of social distancing. The tracks you're going to hear today are snippets of Christy Smith's songwriting expertise and Steve's engineering and production prowess. Enjoy. Take it away, Bruno.
Carpe diem. Seize the day, boys.
All right, I'm real excited about having my good friend, mentor, and all-round inspiration on this podcast, Steve Smith from the Seattle Drum School. Were those accolades good enough for you?
Yeah. Go Hawks. How about that?
Yeah. Well, I'm not a golfer. I don't know about you. But
What kind of team are they? Are they like a hockey type?
I think that's going to be something else.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, you've had a long career in music here in the Seattle area. Why don't you give a little bit of background on your history?
Okay. I moved here in 1983 after finishing my schooling. Played in a band that was really popular in Ellensburg. But we had some cool shows. We opened for the Allies and we used to open for the Heats back in the day. This is probably going to be, a lot of people listening to this will not have been born or even thought about yet. The Cowboys, we did shows with them. It was a fun thing. And then I played in like a top 40 band and made a little bit of money and played a bunch of shows. Played a lot, actually, like 5-6 nights a week. I've always been a drum teacher ever since I was 14. For some reason, people just thought, he's going to teach me drums. I'm going to kill him. I didn't want to die, but I thought, all right, I better figure something out about this. So that's my first kid named Doug was 4. And he had a lower voice than, who's the dude that did the... Darth, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway,
James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones, yeah. And he's like, I bought a drum. Never mind. So then I finally started teaching out of a little shack, a little parking lot attendant's office, and at 7th and Blanchard, where it used to be guitars, etc. And then it turned into Music World when Lee Brothers bought it. It was vacant out there, and it was, I thought, I'm going to see if they let me teach out there. So I did. And it was very cold during the winter. No heat, no insulation, no door. No, I had a door. So that's kind of when I started teaching in this area. A year or two after that, I heard about this space that opened up at our old building, the one little 12 by 12 office space that had a bathroom upstairs, and it also had heat, which is really, really convenient. It was freezing outside. So I started doing that. At one point, I was there practicing, like that's all I did. And I heard this banging. There's three adjacent rooms upstairs in this building, and someone was pounding on the door really loudly because I was drumming and I still heard it. And I went out, I opened the outside door at the top of the stairs, and there's these 2 or 3, I can't remember now, just total metalled out guys, just total, like, perfect, everything about him was metal, and super nice guys. And I open the door and he goes, "Dude, is this rehearsal spaces?" At which point I thought, I'm not going to have much luck teaching a 6-year-old kid to play the drums with a metal band rehearsing next door. So I told him, I lied, and I said, "No, this is just like drum lessons. Yeah, I teach drum lessons up here." And so they said, okay, all right, man. Of course, there was a space available sign on the outside window. So after having done that, I thought, okay, I better call my landlord and rent this room because I just took a tenant from him. So I had a second room upstairs. And at which point, one of my former students, really great drummer, Gary Williams, started teaching there. And that's sort of what got the ball rolling. And then I ended up renting the next room and the next room and the next room, and every time something would open, until we had the 8,300 square feet that was the school for 30 years. And now I'm in my 90s, and I'm still playing drums. Thanks, dude. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I feel it. I feel 90s a lot of days lately. Like starting in March of this year. Anyway, so that's how that went, and eventually we ended up starting some recording studios. Well, one, and I had always.
Just a second. So you're in your fourth incarnation of a recording studio right now, right?
I'm in my fourth.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, I've always been into recording. When I was in college, I worked my way. I paid for everything by teaching lessons like every other weekend back in my hometown and playing a bunch of gigs. So I needed to make sure that the band was booked. So I had to make sure I had a band, and we had to have a place to rehearse. So I would rent the house with the basement, and then we had to have a PA. So I would figure out a way to buy the PA. Then we had to have a way of transporting all of it. So I figured out a way to buy the van. And by the way, if you want to be a working drummer anywhere, just own a PA and a rehearsal space and a band. That's a good start. That increases your odds. Okay, being a decent player probably helps.
That's icing on the cake.
Yeah, that's icing on the cake. Yeah, and then we'd have to have a demo tape if we wanted to get gigs. So I bought like just a little tape deck, stereo tape, a good quality one, like a TAC or something like that. And then I would have the two mics that I would plug in, and then we would try and make a demo tape with two mics through a cassette. And I would always experiment with where I would put the mics to try and record the band to get all the vocals and all the guitars and basses and drums to sound as good as it could possibly sound with just two mics. That was actually really good training, I think, in hindsight. Then eventually, when we had the school, I ended up getting a 4-track cassette at that point. Which was, definitely a step up. And then I ended up buying a TAC, also a TAC, a big, huge mixer, like 12 channels and weighed 12,000 pounds. So I started, messing with that. The next big step was I bought an 8-track. She was also a Tascam, TAC Tascam. And that was just monumental move upward. It actually recorded amazingly well. It would record both sides of the tape simultaneously at double speed.
Still talking about a cassette deck, though.
Still talking about a cassette deck. And check this out. It was $4,000.
Oh, yeah. I believe it.
$4,000 for that. But it had a built-in mixer and built-in, and I guess the mic pre's were decent. I didn't know what they were at the time. That's just where you plug the mic in. So I used that a lot, learned a lot more about trying to mix. We had 8 channels and actually recorded a demo with that of my band, my wife's band, Billy Moon, and then entered this disc makers unsigned band contest that they used to have. They'd have them, like 5 of them throughout the U.S., and we entered the one for Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and Alaska. And with that tape that we submitted, we actually scored the highest out of 508 entries. This firm called Taxi, they used them to assess it without hearing us or seeing it. They didn't know how not happening we were.
Can I ask you a question really quick?
Yeah.
Did you guys do that album on an 8-track cassette? The final?
No, well, the original demo, yeah.
Okay, the original demo, but not the album.
Yeah, no. But we got. I mean, it sounded good, and I worked hard at it. And I remember one of my students at the time, Bill Rieflin, who's like a super happening, brilliant human being. Unfortunately, he passed away recently. I remember I gave him a copy of it, and I ran into him. He's always doing something cool. He was playing with Ministry at the time, and then later on, REM, and then King Crimson most recently. Amazing person. Anyway, I remember running to him at the Space Needle, or in front of it at the Seattle Center, like a year after. Yeah, that tape you gave me, man, that sounds really good. So it's like, yeah, thumbs up. But anyway, I learned a lot. And then, of course, the next phase was the ADATs, which of course cost $4,000 each. Yeah, and I got a Studio Master 16-channel console, which actually sounds pretty good, British console, and anyway, it just kept kind of going more and more. And then when we had like 24 tracks then, and then we took on the lab, which is a 100-seat recording studio basically in the back, and we got a whole nother studio set up back there for recording live shows. So we did tons of recording, and for the first year and a half, we would multi-track everything, and I would mix every show. We'd had the shows Friday and Saturday nights. I spend Monday and Tuesday going back and mixing all those live shows. So talk about getting a lot of practice.
Right. Yeah.
Exhausting, but I loved it. I had I was only 5 then, so I had a lot more energy.
You were born, if you're 90 years old, you were born in 1930. You're looking pretty good.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, dude. Thanks a lot. Anyway, so that's that whole recording bit of it, and I still, I forget how much I enjoy it sometimes until I start doing it again. And now I have this studio up and running here. I won't spend the time I used to. I don't have that much time.
Right.
I have grandchildren to spend time with, but I still can't wait to do it. We're getting killer drum sound in here. I can't even believe it. I was always afraid because we've been recording at Robert Lang Studios for the last couple of years, tons, and you get very spoiled there. But man, when we the Kevin Yonkins, who's been doing the engineering at Bobby's, came out and we did the final setup and test here, and we were both just kind of going, wow. And it's a small room, but it's a trapezium. There's no parallel walls. The ceilings are 9 feet, 10 feet. It's not like we're in a basement with a 7-foot ceiling with insulation above it. But I treat the room. I'm a kind of an acoustics fake scientist. I like to figure stuff out. Can't wait we got to finish Christy's record. We may do a bunch of things here.
Why don't you talk about that record for a bit?
It's like the best music you'll ever hear. Now, Christy, seriously though, folks, Christy's an amazing songwriter, and the people who know her, they know that. She's never been much of a sensation in Seattle. Although we had some really cool stuff happen to us that most of the local scenesters are completely unaware of.
Why don't you talk about that for a bit before you go on?
Like just opening shows, Chicago. I mean, some big venues. We opened for Joan Baez at the Opera House, packed 3,100 people. We did some just stuff. It was cool. We played about every club in town, but we weren't plugged into that part of the scene. We were sort of we had our own little music culture, probably due to the school and all the people that we know through that. But it was a great band, really killer band. And Christy's songs are just stellar. And so now she started writing what started out as a children's record, but she keeps writing these amazing songs that everybody gets. And there's a couple of goofy, silly, cutesy tunes on it that are written about our nieces in particular. She's incredibly creative. She's doing books that when you read them, it's like the kids that we know they just fall in love with them. I'm going to have a record with accompanying books and video. We need an animator if anybody out there wants to do some simple animation for the videos. That's all part of the equation. But some of these songs are just beautiful. They're just honest and melodic and stick in your head. She's just got a knack for writing the hooks, and she has a way with words that I don't think you can teach. You can't teach poetry. You can encourage it, and you can show people where to look if they want to expand their perspectives on it and try and find inspiration. But it's like trying to teach someone to be compassionate. You can't teach that. You can demonstrate it by example. character. It's hard to teach character. You kind of have to develop in your own way, or be, have it be instinctive. But she has that, and amazing voice, just beautiful voice, and she's, this record's just heartwarming. I can't wait to get it done. We kind of got derailed by the whole virus, and so that kind of slowed it down a lot. But hopefully we'll have it done toward the first of the year. That's kind of our realistic goal. We were thinking about trying to do everything, make a big, huge release with the book and this and that, and we just have to be realistic about that. Just get the music done and put it out, and hope the other stuff falls in line. But I'm stoked about that. I'm so grateful that I get to make music with her and help produce these records. She's definitely at the helm with this one. Yeah, there's that.
You're also working on an instructional book.
Yeah, that's kind of been lately, 30 years.
But it's finally coming to fruition.
It really is. And it's the book that won't quit growing, because it's the concept is limitless. It's all about trying to create with the most fundamental rhythmic tools. They're not tools, they're concepts that there are, anybody can come up with these kinds of this kind of approach to developing and evolving patterns in time. It's based on, loosely based on my understanding or confusion of subatomic particle physics and quantum theory. Probably heavier on the confusion part, but that's why I'm doing it. It's like a way that I can try and figure out what do you mean when you observe a particle, you change it. But I think I have a way of explaining that sort of makes sense in some context. Anyway, it's fun and it's inspiring and keeps me motivated to keep developing these ideas. But it's part of it's very, very, very simple. Part of it's incredibly complex, depending on how deep you want to go with it. But I'm super excited about it. It's a life work. It wouldn't be coming to the stage it is now if it weren't for Colin McLaurin, one of our instructors here, who's helping me with all the finale, the publishing of it, and he's contributed to some of the concepts, to some of the applications, as we call them. But yeah, I owe him. Well, we're partners on the actual book project, and he's earned every drop of that partnership. But I love it. I can't stop working on it. And what's interesting is whenever I come up against something that I'm trying to accomplish, be it a Dave Garibaldi pattern, I always end up applying what I learned through writing and practicing the exercises in this book. And there's always something in the book that applies directly. I pretty much always, and if there isn't, I make one up right there.
There you go.
Seriously, but it's a principle.
Right.
It's a plan, and it's a strategy for trying to get the most out of the least amount of time, and make the most of the power of the mind to dig deep in terms of your awareness and focus, concentration. Mental development. It's all this stuff kind of, but it's to make you have music. That's the bottom. It's more fun. The better you play, the more fun it is.
Right.
And then the more creative you can be. There's more freedom. Independence, technique, time, all that stuff is all encompassed into this concept. So hopefully we were going to try and get it out in 2020, and
well, there's always 2021.
Exactly, it's coming right up, right up.
Yeah,
but, one of the things that's the most exciting about that is that Jason McGurr's been using it, quite a bit. I actually just sent off a prototype copy to a guy in England who I think he must study with Jason. I don't know how else, but he's heard about us. And he actually saw a clinic that I had done where I talked about all the physics, craziness, silliness. In 2008, that I'm just goofball. I'm just improvising, and I didn't even know taped. But he said, I saw that and I've been like interested ever since, and believes in it. I think Jason's been doing lessons with him, and Jason was also interviewed by Modern Drummer, Rhythm Magazine, Drumhead Magazine, and he's been talking it up. This is over the last year or two, and they're all basically wanting to get their hands on a copy. So that's encouraging. I have no idea. What some people are going to think of it, because it's not like anything else. It's easy to say that about stuff, except that if you start looking, if you start really investigating what it's about, it's just weird and different and cool, in my opinion. But I'm a little biased. It's not information vending. A lot of books out there are great, and if you want to find a bunch of information, they're valuable, and there's a lot of stuff that is really, really valuable. My thing is, if you work through even a little bit of my book, you're going to get a lot more out of everyone else's books, because you're going to understand the origins of where the stuff comes from. That's a theory. Well, it's not even a theory. It's a fact.
It is a fact.
And every single person that's ever worked on this stuff, without exception, gets it. That's cool. And I see the results, and one of my 15-year-old students plays at the Lincoln Center for the essentially Ellington Festival in New York, and he just grew up. He just thinks that that's normal. Say he does, or swing a tick, and then play all these. He just thinks that that's normal, and so does hundreds of other people at this point.
Yeah,
they don't think of it as something weird or different, or which it is. It's definitely different. It's not really that weird. It's just rhythm and time. 1 and a 2 and is just a different way of articulating, and it's non-denominational. The syllables I have people sing are all about locking in to the phrase and to the time and to the space between each point within how that time is measured. But I can't wait. I want to practice it all the time.
Picture you. The vision is always the same. Your back is all I view. But when I was a little girl, I just wanted you to turn around and see me. Now your words are reckless and wild. They march through my borders and leave me a child. I cannot combat them when I am so small, and you don't seem to notice.
And what's really cool is going through the book now, we're doing the final edit. And there's stuff in there that I haven't really worked on. This would be perfect right after that, And I can play it, I understand it, I can do it, but I haven't really run the drills. They're all drills, basically. And I read through the whole first phase. There's 4 phases. At the end of the phase is the wave particle series. Trying to figure that one out. But it started with a wave. This is where I'm just layering 2 against 3 against 4 against 5 rhythms, and they're all pulses. It's a continuum of frequencies that creates all of these composite rhythms by the intersection of these varying frequencies, which actually create harmony. In theory, if you record those and speed them up, they turn into notes. So you can actually literally play chords. That's what I'm doing. And then I figured out, how the hell am I going to teach this to anyone? Because it took me 15 hours the first time I ever tried to play the wave before I could play through it once without messing up, right?
Right.
So then I kept reducing it. I like the process of deduction, and came eventually with those first 12 rhythms on the first sheet, and then those expanded to the second sheet, which is based on groupings of 5s. So what happened was I started from the very beginning, and I read every page in one sitting. It took me about 2 and a half hours to go through the first fourth, and and I know all of that. But working through that every page, not missing a single page, and some of the pages I just read through once. Some of them that were, oh geez, I need to do this again. This is simple conceptually, but man, I need to run these drills. So I spent 3 or 4 minutes on it. And when I got to that final stage where I was doing the mesons, the baryons, the particles, and the waves, it was like unbelievable how good that stuff felt. I was just like thrilled, I'm like, I think it's actually working. Because I'm always, I'm insecure like everyone else. Is this all in my head? Am I like, but it's a maze. And right now I'm on the 3rd phase. And there's stuff in there that some of the stuff that Colin put in, which is just an extension of something else that we already came up with. We should do this too, because, man, it's kicking my butt. But man, then I get done doing that. It's like, I can't wait to play. Probably one of the best, the best ways of assessing its value is when I work through this stuff, I want to play drums for fun. For fun, It's hard work. But it's like if you're a basketball player, man, I mean, you make more shots and you complete more, make more plays and passes, and you dribble that ball. It's more fun to play basketball. That's why I tell my students the best reason for wanting to get through this stuff and improve as a player is it's more fun, and you make more money, get more girls, whatever.
Yeah.
I spice it up a little bit. Sometimes I lie.
Yeah. Well, I understand about the getting the girls part, but that was more like
I did okay. Yeah.
It actually worked when I was in my 20s.
That actually worked. I don't know if it had anything with how good a drummer I was. Probably had to do with how much money I have.
No, man, I was just a poor musician on the road, man.
Yeah. Anyway, but I do say the better you play, the better musicians you get to work with, and that is absolutely true, and absolutely worth the effort. I'm so lucky, man. People I get to play with now, Danny Godinez and Paul and John Albers, the jazz thing that we're doing on Mondays, and Bruce and Alan from the 350s. Anyway, it's just like, and Christy, Yeah. But they're just these amazing, wonderful musicians that keep me working. They challenge me, especially the jazz stuff I'm doing. I've always played a little bit, and I've always had success with helping cultivate that in other people. But I've just been so busy, and now we play in our venue in Georgetown. We got a beautiful grand piano there, and I put my 1960s round badge crutch kit there.
Nice.
And it's just, I love it. But I work like Danny plays with us, and it's like we're both sort of like, we're challenged. I just said last night we got done, and Paul hadn't left yet. Paul plays with all the super pepper people in town, and bass player, and Ron Weinstein came and sat in because we got the piano tuned, and we were celebrating that.
Yeah.
He said, "Man, you sound good, and I go, "Thanks. I'm just working on, basically I'm just trying to keep from Paul from getting pissed off at me,
Uh-huh.
He's such a great player. And John Albert's just beautiful stuff, and Danny, of course. So there's that. That's good for business because it keeps me motivated to be successful in all my other aspects. Like I want to record these projects,
Right.
I burned a bridge today, just turned and walked away. What will I do? What can I say? Even if I wanted to stay, I burned a bridge today. Hey, hey. I wish
one of the purposes of this podcast was to discuss how you integrate art and your businesses, and you just went ahead and talked a bunch about it.
Sorry.
No, that's perfect. So you have 2 campuses for the drum school.
Yeah.
When did you open the Georgetown campus?
2007, right at the literal beginning of the Great Recession.
That's right.
Literally May of 2007. If you can, the economists say basically, May. We opened May 12th. May 12th was a Friday, and the 13th Saturday we had a grand opening. We had Jeff Tain Watts play down in our. We didn't have the slab yet, the performance venue, but we had downstairs like a lounge, which is actually very cool. But yeah, it was for like the last year before we did that. Actually, Mark Fendel was working with us then, and he kept saying, "Man, you got to open a school in Georgetown. I'll run it for you." And the place is going to blow up. And then I'd look at another article in another newspaper the day after about how Georgetown was going to blow up and be the next Fremont. There's all this development, huge construction companies going in there and supposed to, make everything upscale. Hopefully not ruin it. But so I'm thinking, yeah, man, I'm going to be really smart and open a school. It was like, okay, deal with this one, Steve. Okay, God. Thanks, dude. Thanks. Yeah. But whatever. It's a really cool space. We have these amazing people that work there. As here, I can't even believe it. Just amazing. Oh yeah. I mean, how do I integrate business? I try to think about business as little as possible, which is bad. I'm not a very good, business mentor. I think I do better at it than I give myself credit for. I like to, make fun of myself, but I made pretty good decisions over the years, and it's usually based on quality, not profit. I pay my teachers way more than just about anybody anywhere, including Musicians Institute. I found out. I interviewed one of their instructors that came up here, killer player, played with. Anyway, I think that's an interesting angle, but it's what I want, and I would rather do more volume and have the better quality. Of course, we have to do a lot of volume, so that keeps me also focused to a degree on figuring out how to generate more business. There's never enough. There's always more that we want. And my motivation is I want to write bigger checks, to my instructors. I want to be able to do that. I've always been motivated to keep this business going and successful, so that I can have these amazing musicians be treated with respect and appreciation, and honor them. And I think it's paid off. We always have enough. We struggle from time to time, especially now, but I don't feel like I'm in a struggle per se. We just figure out ways to work things out. Anyway, yeah. So Georgetown, we opened 2007, and huge expansion, 6,000 square feet of space, huge amount of money up front. It's like every expansion I've done since the beginning has been exponentially larger than the previous one. It'd start with one little room and then another little room. Okay, that was equal. And then the next one was like the downstairs front part, which was like 1,400 square feet. And, my overhead went from here to here. And then the midsection, the welding section, we called it, that was like another 1,300 square feet. And then the next one was the lab, which was like another, over 2,500, 3,000 square feet. And that was an unbelievable undertaking, that part of it. I remember, that place with the garage and had a foot of grease on the floor that I went out there pressure washing and scrubbing for weeks.
I bet.
And yeah, I literally months putting that room together.
Oh yeah, just to get rid of the smell.
Well, exactly. And you would never know in a million years when it was done where it came from. But that was one of my greatest achievements, getting that place. We found when we moved from the old building to the Lake City, where we are now, I literally came across 3,500 CDs that we would record all these shows, usually three bands a night on average. When we do these metal nights, there'd be like 7. It was insane. I can't believe my neighbors didn't burn the place down.
Did you start at noon?
Yeah. They were amazing though. I learned so much about music, about like really what's happening. I never paid attention to that stuff. I just wasn't my thing. But then I'm listening to these metal bands, and those drummers, they're like, they're all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you know what? They were cool people.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I'm always learning. I just, and killer players. I developed so much more appreciation for so many things. In hip hop, we'd have hip hop nights there. Had some great killer hip hop shows. We even did noise shows there with lights and smoke and stuff. Seriously, we never made a dime, but it was really special for those 20 people that showed up and laid on the floor on the pillows. We had a bunch of pillows that we bought from thrift stores.
Uh-huh.
We stored them in this wardrobe that that we were storing for our friends in England. It was like 7 feet tall and antique, and we'd stuff that thing full. And then for the noise shows, we throw the pillows out all over the floor and all sorts of crazy stuff. This for it. They loved us for it, and I'm going, all right, cultural. It's culture. Anyway, so back to the Georgetown 2007. We managed to survive. I don't know how. We must have lost 2,000. Well, literally a couple grand a month. Month after month after month after month. But we had the venue there, so we got the venue the next year. There's a pet store that moved out. So we took over the rest of the building and turned it into a really cool little space. It's what we have now for shows, and it's actually really cool. It's just charming, and we're definitely gonna start using that as part of main part of what we do in that venue or that school. We've been calling it the Slab, mostly because the building that we're in was originally built as a funeral home in 1905. We never really branded it. I mean, we had shows there for a while, but then it's too hard, too much going on, and too much staffing necessary to do that, and too expensive. So then we started doing regular recitals or showcases, we call them, every other month, except during the summer when we have all the rock band stuff going on. But we use it for that.
Of course.
And it kind of took on its own little vibe. But the sound in there is cool. I really value trying to get the sound and acoustics to be very, very, very music friendly. So people love playing there. Now we're doing these jazz shows. We started doing these secret jazz shows with through Airbnb, and Max Holberg spearheaded that. Great drummer. He teaches down at Georgetown. Jazz, just killing. Plays with wonderful people. And until COVID, but we're thinking about maybe starting to do some live streaming. You know that one very well. Yeah. We're thinking. Paul Gabrielson just brought this up last night about, wait, why do you call it Slab? It's like who wants to play the Slab? That's like it's where dead people lay. And then I thought, well, what should you call it? And he goes, I don't like Georgetown Performing Arts Center or something. Like something with more dignified. And I think he's right. I think he's right. I mean, give it a little bit more. Make it more significant sounding, like, it actually is a real music venue.
Yeah.
It deserves it. It is so cool.
Yeah.
It's such a special, charming, welcoming place. So we're literally trying to come up with a new name. So let me know if you get any ideas. Something that's not like the Georgetown Center for the Performing Arts. That sounds like a civic place to us. I think we'd be overrepresenting. Anyway, so... But that's kind of on the front burner now, trying to get the shows going, and hopefully rent it out. I mean, it's a beautiful space, and there's definitely a need for unfortunately some of the places are gone. Tula's is gone for jazz.
Tula's is gone now too.
Tula's is gone. Oh yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, I think that was because somebody bought the space. They bought they're going to put another multi-use apartment. I don't know what they're going to do, but it sucks. But I think there's more than there were, several years ago. There's a need for what that place can offer, and employ some more people. Get someone to run it, but if we have enough business there,
it's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's prime, and it's valuable, and hopefully, it'll bring more people to the school and help us, book some more lessons, and everybody wins in that kind of situation. Students win; they get these amazing teachers. Teachers win because they get the students that actually really value, the quality of their music education, and the teachers get paid decently for it and get more work. More security financially, and they're inspired by the students. So, we win because we get a little bit more money coming through the door, and then so I can spend more of it on the school. That's just the way it is. So what else? I don't know. We've provided housing for homeless people on our front. No, sorry, I don't want to get going now.
Have you?
Well, not by choice.
Yeah, I understand that.
There were some problems, like getting my car windshield smashed in by someone who was irritated that I was practicing at 11 o'clock at night when they're trying to sleep out in front of my window. That was sad. But that was an exception. Those people were bad. They ended up getting arrested for other destruction. Nobody really, we haven't had very many issues with that, other than just syringes and alcohol bottles and laying on our when kids come out. So we have a fence, or the Lake City lot's fenced in now. That helped a lot.
Let's talk about that old school Midas board you have in the drum school in Georgetown.
I like it.
Yeah. What prompted you to buy it? To put it in?
When we opened the slab.
Yeah.
No, actually, when we opened the lab, when we built the lab in the North School, the little auditorium in the back, for those people that don't know what that was.
Yeah.
We wanted high quality sound, and it's like the real deal Midas with the killer mic pre's and EQ and.
It's all analog, right? There's no digital on this board. It's 100% analog.
Analog, yeah. And our processing is all. Well, I have one like digital controlled compressor, but most of it's analog. It's old school. But even people that teach engineering, have an appreciation for the old stuff, and especially for teaching, for people that want to learn about audio, even if they're using digital. There's a value to literally seeing this stuff and being able to literally see this wire from here goes to this, which you channel to this patch bay, which goes here. It's like you can see it in real time and in real, with real materials. I think it makes it easier to understand routing in a digital realm, because you can visualize what's going on once you've seen it. Once you've seen it, rather than just memorizing this and then hit that button and then hit that button. This way, it's like when you hit that button, it's like you're plugging this cable in here, and you can plug this into here, and it goes through this and makes this meter move here. When you lower the threshold, it makes this. I think there's some value to it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe nobody cares anymore, but I don't care. I just want it to sound good, and I want it to be fun. And I like feeling it. I like feeling the knobs turn.
Yeah.
And feeling the audio move a little bit, and like feeling the way that image of what's coming off the stage shapes differently or slightly, and pushes something forward or moves it back, or a little bit smaller or a little bit broader, So that's just me. I don't even have we have digital setup here, but it's all of our processing is analog. We've got some really cool. It's really cool stuff.
Don't be afraid to feel. Most every hurt will heal. Most every pain will subside. Just pay attention and trust what your gut says, and mostly
I've had the opportunity to run live music with analog, and I'm telling you something. There really is a component missing out of digital, because you can have digital run at a higher volume and you don't feel it as much as you would with analog. There's something about analog that it actually permeates your cells.
Well, I mean, there's theories that try to explain that. It's just like analog tape. We had a 16-track 2-inch for 10 years. And I remember the first time we recorded on that in my room. It was so cool because we've been doing like the digital stuff, and it all sounds great. Use good front end, good mics, good pre's, good signal, source. It's going to sound good, right? The digital stuff they're doing now really sounds amazing. But when we recorded that first take on that song, and then we went into the studio, to the control room, and listened to it. Plus, there's a smell, man, when you got an analog machine, and watching those reels just spin like, it's just like, it's amazing, the machining, the engineering, and that stuff. Anyway, so we go in there and then hit play. It was like, okay. When I heard the same instruments and the same drums going through the same mics, played back through the same console, mostly it was just straight back to the console at that point, straight off the tape. It was like, oh, that's analog. Plus, it was 16-track 2-inch.
Yeah.
So, every track was, thicker, 50% thicker than a 24-track, and it was like, oh, and I remember Christy's first saying, I want to sing on that, it's like, I mean, we all got it. You could just kind of like, oh, just the sound, and literally there's no digitization there's no quantization of data, and it's pure all the way up to the top. There's nothing missing from anything. It's just all the way high end. We got rid of it when we had to move, though, which, most people don't care about. I gave away like 20 reels of tape.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
To the person who took it.
Blank 2-inch?
Very, very lightly used. Recycled. Very lightly used, though. We didn't use it very much. Most people didn't want to spend the $200 or $150 on a reel of tape. You get 20 minutes at you got a max inches per second or 30. I can't remember now, but we didn't do a lot of recording on it. It's just we recorded on it.
Oh yeah. I think David Crosby said that in order for digital to be better, they're going to have to add more zeros to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Zeros, yeah.
We were on the same label.
Yeah.
We were on the same label as David Crosby.
Cool.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
We got to go to some of his shows. Got to hang out with him a little bit. That was back in our day. Our day. Our days never really ended. They just
morphed into a different.
More subtle. There's more. Yeah. Subtle.
That's right. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you taking the time today. Is there anything that you would like to say before we wrap it up? Okay,
what we talking about, integrating business with art. Yeah, you got to take it. They're both important. They're both important. I think that take care of the art, take care of the music, take care of the people that you work with, take care of your in the market, like your vendors. We try and help with what we do, the retailers. They're all part of our, people have tried for years to get me to carry product, just even sticks in the head.
Right?
No, never.
Oh, I thought you had.
No,
I thought
never.
you had a little store there at the same time.
No, that wasn't us. That was one of my students who opened that.
Oh, okay.
No, the only thing we ever sold is T-shirts. We made a fortune off those, though. Yeah. 5 cents a piece.
Yeah.
That's why we,
Yeah.
No, I said, I don't want to do that. I want the stores in town, the retailers, to support us, and we support the entire retail market. I mean, we spend $30,000 a year on advertising trying to get people to invest in music education. Those people that spend money on education learn more, they play longer, they want better gear. I want to have that. I want to help feed the machine. And I don't need to try and, we'd have a built-in clientele. And someone said, well, what about just sticks and heads, man? You can make, and so, okay, sticks and heads is what brings people to the stores. They're like, that's what gets the person to go in there and drool over that new cymbal of that drum set. I don't want to take away from them. And that one of the reasons why we continued to sell shirts for 5 cents was when we opened our venue, the lab, we had all these kids coming and what they got out of it was a recording. Okay.
Right.
And sometimes we would share the money depending on who it was, but usually we never knew what we were going to get. Sometimes there'd be 5 people that would show up, and we'd still record it, mix it, make it sound killer, treat them with respect and appreciation. Right. But they sold their merchandise, right? And so I sold shirts there for a nickel, so that it wouldn't be any big deal. They weren't going to buy a drum school T-shirt instead of the band's merch, I wanted them to sell a bunch of merch. I wanted them to make some money. They got a killer recording out of it. Back in that day, there weren't a million home studios, and we had so many of those kids that put out that record. They put out the demo that they did. We even have people that said, we just spent $3,000 or something to try to do a demo, and what we got out of you guys sounded better. We put that out. That happened over and over again. Nothing against the other studios. I think it had more to do with the energy and the emotion that they put into it. And we had killer gear. We had killer mics and killer mic pre's, like literally, world class. Neve, API, Grace Designs, Avalon. I mean, whatever. So I guess I'm just talking about the same thing. Take care of the people that you're supposed to be taking care of. If it's your customers, treat them with gratitude and respect, and treat your music as though it's who you are, and make sure that people are going to want to know who you are, and business wise, you got to work on the business a little bit. The difference between working in the business, working on the business. I have good people that I hire to do most of that anymore, but I still have to make the decisions. I still have to care about them and make sure that they know that I have their back. Things are probably going to work out. Take care of the people that you interact with, and that you surround yourself with, and they'll take care of you.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good way to end this conversation.
Right on.
Yeah, great life philosophy. Really great seeing you over.
See you too, Brian. Man, stay healthy, dude. Yeah, right. We figured it out.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. What a debacle. Usually, when I apology. So
yeah. Just never quit. Okay, that's another thing. Yeah. Just don't quit. Don't give up.
No.
We proved that. We proved that work today. All right. Well, have a great rest of your day, Brian.
Yeah. Hey, and thank you for doing this. Really appreciate
it. No problem. My pleasure. Yeah. All right. You're my friend.
You're my friend.
Okay. See you, Brian.
Hey, you want more Mack-n-Cheeze? Mack-n-Cheesemusic.blog, on YouTube at Brian at Mack-n-Cheese, Instagram and Twitter, www.mackandcheese.com. And thank you, Anchor.fm, for hosting this podcast. Take it away, Bruno.
Every time a bell rings, an engineer gets his wings.